What up, big dogs? This is Roger Dale Martin of Reign of Glory. We're talking about Immortal Fest here on the Covenant Metal Show.
That is awesome. That's the most enthusiasm I have seen from anybody.
Roger's the man.
Thank
Hey
you.
guys, I am here with some very heavy hitters. The guys from Reign of Glory. Guys, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And I'll have you guys introduce yourselves, but I'm sure everybody who's going to see this knows who you are.
I'm me,
Hi, me.
Luke Easter.
Nick Layton.
Roger Dale Martin.
Awesome, guys. And Reign of Glory, you guys have your debut album out, All Will Bow, and I got that on CD and vinyl, and I'll be bringing the vinyl with me for you guys to sign to Immortal Fest. So, who came up with the idea for Reign of Glory, and how did it all come about?
Talking about the band itself or the name?
Both.
Okay. Let's see. How did this happen, Roger? I think it's a long story, but the short version is that Roger and I got connected by a couple of the Sanctuary guys, Chris Dorman, Don Waite, to do a project for basically what turned out to be Roxology, which is instrumental hymns album that we did together. That was the beginning of my relationship with Roger, and we just had really good chemistry. We worked really well together, had a lot of fun making that record. And by the time that was, Rox signed us for that, and they created a great album distribution and all that. So we had a good experience with Rox. We got done with that, and I don't know, it's maybe another 6 months after that where I had a bunch of material laying around, song ideas and stuff like that, and I knew I wanted to do something with vocals, and I wanted to jump into the Christian music side of things. Most of my bands have been secular, so I wanted to jump into that with Roger to see if he'd be interested, try to find a vocalist. So we did. I already had probably half the album written, and then we just kept adding songs and refining them, and eventually we found Rob and Kyle to do the record. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Very cool. Very cool.
Dave, we did the Roxology album, and it did pretty dang good. But some people just don't want to listen to an instrumental. They want vocals, and we didn't want to do vocals with Roxology. But anyway, when Nick called, he was talking about right off the bat. He was talking about early '70s, kind of a '70s thing, and maybe some '80s stuff. We weren't really melodic metal focused at that certain point when we just started talking about it. And Nick and I developed a great musical relationship. A little background for me is I played in lots of church worship teams, and Nick, of course, he's been a worship leader, and so he knows how to deal with those guys. He knows how to work with charts. He knows how to work with musical notation and all that stuff. And so that made it easy for me. I'm damn near deaf, okay, and so for somebody like Nick, he can throw ideas at me. He can write it out. He can write these charts out. Okay, and we can do this musical stuff back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that's what we did. And actually, it started with the idea, and once Nick, he talked to me about it, and after 3 or 4 days, I really started getting excited. And especially when you sent me the first song, and he sent me a couple that he'd been working on, and man, I was floored. We did the Roxology thing, and we're working with the format that's been done for hundreds of years. Here's the tune, here's the melody, and we're working with that. This is working from the inside Nick's brain, basically. Now Nick's brain, thank God, he needs a collaborator, which is Roger Dale. He's a Roger. He runs these ideas by me, and we go back and forth, and we make it freaking work. Okay, his strengths are my weaknesses are his strengths, and so together, basically, that's where we got fired up about it. Well, I mean, fired up. Earlier this year, there was a thrash band was after me like crazy, and I'm playing the thrash stuff, and I'm going. It just didn't feel like it. I don't feel 30 years old anymore. I feel 31. but it just did not. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted something else. In fact, for me personally, I'm thinking, man, I'm tired of the vocals. I'm tired. For me personally, I'm tired of it. And I think other people want something. Back in the heyday, it was melody, it was harmony, and it was hard rock. You had to merge the two, and that's very difficult. Now, my hardcore stuff and my thrash stuff and Vengeance, it comes through an attitude. Nick's his musical genius comes through in attitude. It comes through in his arrangements, and right off the bat. Okay, so I'm excited because I know we got something powerful, and that's hard to come from, and it's unique. And once again, we started working on it. In fact, we pretty much had most of the tunes, all 10 together. And once again, these come from the genius of Nick Layton. That's where they come from. And together, actually, Nick and I are like a snow plow. I'm the plow, and he is the engine. And that's how we work. Okay, we formed a partnership maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a partnership based on mutual respect and based on love, and that's where we're going. And that was it. Our main thing was singers. Okay, we needed a vocalist, and then we went through the process of doing vocalists. Ended up with Robin Kyle. I've done some work with him, and he's a fantastic singer. Yeah.
I love his work on Red Sea.
That was it, Reign of Glory, and Rock's Records got a hold of it, and they jumped on it, and we did our thing. And so that's the beginning. I won't go into anything else, but that's where it started, and that's where the excitement. And believe me, I got a hold of Bill Rocks for Rocks Records. Say, Bill, I got something here, and I want you to listen to it. It's just a little clip of what we done, and he's pooping in his pants and all this stuff. I'm going, okay, hang down. So just hang loose, and we kind of got it going with Rocks Records right off the bat. Had to build a low momentum, and he jumped on it. And there's some major key points for our success, you might say. And I might be going way ahead of your questions, Dave, but let me just stop here and let other guys speak. But that's where the excitement started back then, and we got her done.
Right on. Yeah, with Rocks Records, I do the videos for the bands and the re-releases and stuff that he puts out, and he had hit me up and, hey, I got this band, and he's like, can you do a lyric video for these guys? And I was like, yeah, sure, and it was Welcome to Reality. And when I first heard it, because I listened to it to get ideas, for the video I'm gonna do, and I listened to it and I'm like, whoa, this is flipping awesome. I was like, wow, I love it. It's like, it's old school heavy metal, but with a modern, a modern feel too. And I dig it. I love the entire album, start to finish. You guys got 4 singles from that. And I played you guys on my show many times. Absolutely. I'm like I said, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of you guys individually and your previous bands, but I'm also a fan of Reign of Glory.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. It means a lot. Yeah, those early days when we first released the album and stuff, and I remember the videos that you had. It was really cool because we, I think, I don't want to boast here or anything like that, but our video got some of the biggest hits. Maybe Roger, you know more than I do, but that thing the first video we did with Welcome to Reality got tons of hits. And I think everybody was a little surprised like how many it got, So.
Yeah, Dave, you definitely did a great job on that video, Dave, because you presented us as an individuals and you presented us as a band because of the individual shots and all like that. And Dave, you were talking just now about a modern sound, a modern production. I tell you what, I got to give that all to Nick Layton. He freaking produced this thing. I mean, I had to twist his arm a couple of times.
Hey, you getting all kinds of accolades here, man.
No, man. I can just retire.
No, of course we had it mastered, but the basic production is Nick Layton in doing his magic with Pro Tools and in his studio. Okay, and I'm telling you what. Once again, that's as a collaborator and as a butt kicker. I said, turn around, boom, boom, boom. You're freaking doing it, and he did. And that's one of the things about this album that people love. It's like, man, it's got a modern production, a modern sound. It does not sound flat. It has a three-dimensional thing, and that's very, very difficult to pull off. It really is.
I didn't want to mix the album because I've mixed some of my own stuff, generally instrumental type stuff, but I wasn't, the most experienced at mixing live drums, mixing vocals, getting all that together. So I agreed. Roger kicked my butt a little bit and convinced me that I should do it, but I agreed with some trepidation. But once I got into it, I felt like I had to be the one to mix it because I was so close to the music. And for example, the guitar tones all came out of this amp right here. Every single lick came out of that Friedman amp. And I wanted that nice, big, fat, warm guitar sound. And you never know what you're going to get when you hire somebody else to mix the album. And I didn't want that tone to go away.
Right.
And I started mixing the drums. They were coming out pretty good. And so I thought, you know what? I think I could do this. I worked with Robin a bit on his vocals. He told me what he liked, what he didn't like. Too much delay, too much, add more delay, whatever. Bump these frequencies, cut these frequencies. He helped me out with some of that as far as his vocals go. But yeah, I feel like sonically it's a good sounding album. And it's a warm, fat sounding album, which
Absolutely.
I really like.
One of the things that were to our advantage. Now I have to tell you this: we went through a couple drummers before we decided on Jim Chaffin. Mm-hmm. Now Jim Chaffin, of course, he's a pro.
Oh yeah.
But Jim Chaffin has spent months, if not years, working on his studio with his drum sounds. So what he gave Nick was completely superior to anything else that we heard because he's been working on his tone, forever. That's his gig. That was another thing. We needed a vocalist and we needed a drummer. Okay. So that was a complete thing. Now these other drummers were good. I want you to know that they were good, but they just weren't. We're so passionate about this project that if it didn't float our boat, we were saying, okay, next. And in doing that, it helped us, but it hurt us because we went behind on our schedule with Rock's Records. But he was, once again, Bill was very, he could bend and he could adjust his schedule and work with it when he pulled it off. Okay, but once again, Jim Chaffin was huge. He helped us to get a sound. Now Nick, he had some good rough material to work with, some good tones to work at, but he had to take that and he had to throw it through the production magic. And thank God that really worked out because that's one of the things people love. Like, man, I love the drum sound on this album. I really do. And when he was talking about those amps behind him, tubes. One of the things we wanted to do with this album was go freaking old school. In fact, all three of us that you see right here are not in-ear monitors at this gig. We're old school. We're going to old school monitors. We're going to be freaking blasting those amps on stage. So if you're in front of the stage, you're going to get it all. Now, when you turn down on stage, all people hear is what's in the PA system. And the people who want the goods, they're in between the speakers. But what we're going to do is old school. If you're up front and you want to see this, believe me, you're going to hear the air coming off my bass guitar. You're going to hear the tubes and the amps and the wood in those guitars. And that's how we're approaching this, Dave. Really thinking about Immortal Fest. And once that goes into the album, All Will Bow. Those amps back there were red hot, dude. Those tubes were blasting, and you can freaking hear it. Almost on every fade out, I'm going, man, that is it. Okay, you see what I'm talking about? You can sample and you can put all these plugs in there, but when it comes down to it, red hot, big fat tubes glowing, and speakers just ripping.
Yeah, I love the tube amp. So does Roger, obviously. And I've played with plugins before. I don't know how much you guys know about recording and all that, but I'm sure there's an audience out there that knows all about plugins and things. And there's some good stuff. I'm not gonna get into an argument about what's good and what doesn't sound good, but it's the feel of the tube amps when I'm playing it live here in the room that a plugin can't replicate. There's just something about that I can't get with the plugin. And it affects how I play. And if it affects how I play, that's a big deal. That's more important to me than the ease of recording. So I genuinely prefer to record this way. And I mean, sometimes if you're working with, a professional producer, they will say, if you're gonna record with tube amps, make sure you record a DI track because I want to have the ability to reamp it. They want to put their own tone on it. And I'm like, just find the tone that you like, old school, Van Halen style, and stick with that and make it work, So this is a bit of a throwback in a way, but I hope it doesn't sound sonically like it's from 1984 either.
No. Yeah, and it like I said, it sounds amazing. It really does. And the album, start to finish, I mean, I love the entire thing. And now, I know, Robin sang on the album, but for Immortal Fest, Luke, I know you're filling in. And so how did that come about with Luke filling in?
Roger sent me a text.
Well, I'll tell you, Luke and I...
Hey, man, you won't sing?
Even though Luke and I have never met in person, we started a relationship. Actually, we started a professional relationship maybe a couple of years ago. He got a hold of me and said, Roger, some questions about some merchandising stuff. I said, Roger, what about this? And and then we were talking. So when we first talked, it wasn't BS. It was pretty much on a professional level, and that set the tone for our relationship. And of course, Nick and I, when we were looking for vocalists, we went all over the planet. And but Robin was perfect at the time. Robin was completely perfect at the time. Robin, there was an issue that prevented him from playing the show. Okay, and I knew who I wanted. I wanted Luke, and he's the first person I got a hold of. He said, Luke, here's the situation, and even here's the situation, Luke, and I believe me, we've been upfront. Everything has just been, here's the way it is. There's no pussyfooting around. Okay, and I said, here's what's happening. I kind of gave him a warning beforehand. It may be a possibility. So he had an idea before I was the official question. Once we heard from Robin, see, Robin had a meeting with me and Nick. He said, look, here's what's up, you guys. Okay, and I want you to go with the show. As long as you have somebody else, you got my full blessings. And I'm like, as soon as we signed off the Zoom meeting, bam! 30 seconds later, I'm on the phone with Luke. Luke, you ready to do this gig? Because he's heard the album, he knows what's up. And Luke was like, you better believe it, let's do it, let's blow the roof off it. Bam! That's where it started, right there. Luke is in.
Awesome, that's so cool. Yeah, and as much as I would have liked to have met Robin, I mean, I'm glad that Luke's going to be there because, like we were saying earlier, I'm a Tourniquet fan, and I love Luke singing, and so it's going to be looking forward to seeing you guys perform, and looking forward to meeting you guys, Luke, Nick. I've met Jim before briefly. I met him at Sacrobox Music Fest out in California in 2018. And actually, Roger, we met briefly at SoCal Metal Fest in 2017. You were doing the Die Happy with a Vengeance. You guys kind of combined Die Happy and Vengeance Rising. Yeah. So I remember meeting you briefly, but it's going to be great to see you guys. And so guys, Reign of Glory, their album All Will Bow is out now on CD and vinyl LP at roxrecords.com. And these guys are going to be at Immortal Fest, Christian Rock Festival in Versailles, Ohio, July 22nd, 23rd, just a little over 2 weeks away. And I'm sure the guys would love to meet you guys. And I know I'm going to be leaving there with so much merch. My wife is just going to go nuts. All right. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for your time and for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.